Hey everybody, so I want to get my labor and delivery vlog up for you while I have a little bit of time here. Tara is sleeping right now and I'm not too tired myself, so I wanted to get this done before, I start forgetting details and everything. She's 6 days old today. She was born on February the 9th at 7:50 in the morning, but I want to go ahead and backtrack and tell you guys about her arrival and how it all began. So on the 7th of February was my official due date according to my doctor's office, and we had a appointment scheduled at 11 a.m. So we go ahead and go in at this time we knew nothing about what was going to happen. But we go in thinking it's just a regular appointment. They weigh me, they check my blood pressure, and it's high, which was a little bit shocking to me because according to my whole pregnancy, I had no signs of high blood pressure. So they, I think it was like 150 something over 80 something. I can't exactly remember the number, but they didn't like that it was even high at all because of the risk of preeclampsia and everything like that. So we get into the office with the doctor, and I can't remember if he checked my cervix first or if he rechecked my blood pressure first. I can't remember which, but he did check my cervix at that time, and it was still the same as it was the previous week, which I was super bummed about. I was still 1 centimeter dilated and not effaced at all, still really firm, and I have a really weird cervix as it is. It's really located far back and it's kind of tilted to the left, so it's hard to find as it is. But he said that could just hopefully it'll correct itself as I start to dilate. But then he checked my blood pressure. I believe that's the way it went, but sorry, I have an itch on my back. Ouch. Anyways, so he starts checking my blood pressure, and it's still high, which they didn't like to see. So what he recommended we do is go ahead and head over to the hospital and be monitored and have a blood test and a urine test, just to make sure that I wasn't developing preeclampsia or anything like that, and just to make sure the baby was okay. So of course I said absolutely okay, whatever we need to do for the baby, I'll do. So we leave the appointment, we schedule an NST for the following Monday, just in case my blood pressure was fine and they ended up releasing me from the hospital and so on and so forth. But we never ended up making it to that appointment. But anyways, so after we leave the doctor's office, my husband and I decide that it's probably a good idea that we go and have lunch, because at that time I think it was like 12:30 or whatever. So we go and have lunch, and at one of my favorite burger places, In-N-Out Burger. I'm sure you guys know or heard of it if you live in the U.S. It's one of the best places ever. Sorry, I need to drink my water. So we go and do that, and then we go and head over to the hospital, and we didn't have any of our bags or anything packed in the car. We weren't really prepared for even having to go to the hospital. So we kind of just updated our parents, saying that if they needed to, they could always bring our stuff over to us for whatever reason. So we get to the hospital around, I think it's 3 p.m. 3 p.m., 3:15, somewhere in there, and we get all checked in. They give me my my hospital gown, and I get into bed, and they hook up the monitors and start monitoring my blood pressure. Sorry, I'm getting my notes out here. And they monitor her heart rate, and everything is looking good with her. Her heart rate's perfect, but my blood pressure is really high. I never really felt like it was high, but it was like still 150 plus, and it would vary. Sometimes it would be in the high normal range, and then sometimes it would just be really high. They were checking it every 15 minutes for, I think, 3 or 4 hours before they decided to do anything. And the nurse kept coming in and checking on me, and just updating me with what the doctor was saying. At that time, they were discussing induction and just keeping me and starting with Cervidil. But the nurse couldn't officially give me any sort of an answer until the doctor got there. So once the doctor did get there around 8 p.m., she came in and talked to me, and basically just said, look, this is what we can do. I just don't feel comfortable sending you home with the numbers that I see here. Laying in bed is one thing with and having high blood pressure, but if we were to send you home and you're up on your feet or doing anything like that, it could risk the baby, it could risk you, and just didn't feel comfortable having any of that happen. So when she kind of went over all of that with me, I basically said, whatever we have to do, we'll do. So we went ahead and just said, we're going to stay, and they're going to start my induction. So around 8:30 that night, they admitted me, got me all, with my wristbands and all of that good stuff. They went ahead and put the Cervidil in, which, if you guys don't know what Cervidil is, it's a cervix ripener, as they call it. And it looks like a little tampon with some medicine on it, and they stick that up really high into your cervix, and they leave it in there for 12 hours. So they left that in there, and they took it out at, let's see, so it was like 8:30 when they put it in, so they took it out around 8:30 the next morning, and absolutely did nothing for me, which was a really, really, really big bummer. My cervix was still, 1 centimeter, maybe 1.5, they said, and it was still really, really firm. Sorry, I just am really hoarse. Ugh. Let's see. After that, after they took it out, they were gonna, talk to the doctor and see what the next step was going to be, because once you start the induction process, you really can't back out of it. They just don't recommend that you do. So we decided to go ahead and just jump in and start Pitocin. The doctor came in and said that this is the best thing to do, because if we were to go ahead and do another round of Cervidil, which would take another 12 hours, and it possibly could do absolutely nothing for me. So, and they didn't want to wait that long because my blood pressure was still a little bit high. So what we did is, let's see, 8:30 in the morning. Yeah, they let me go ahead and have breakfast and take a shower and all of that, because once they put in the Cervidil and everything, once they start Pitocin, they don't want me up walking around or doing anything, and they won't let me eat anything, because Pitocin could lead to other things, and they don't want you to have any food in your system. So I was limited to ice chips after that. So yeah, I took my shower. I got to stretch my legs and kind of walk around a little bit, and ate my breakfast, which was good. And then let's see what happened next. Then they came in and hooked me up to my IV, and or they already had the IV in my hand, but they hooked the Pitocin to my IV and started me off at 2, I think it's milligrams or milliliters or something like that, and they upped it every 30 minutes by 2. So dang it, I'm so sorry, I'm just really, really hoarse. I don't understand why lately. I think it's just because I'm super exhausted. But let's see. Yeah, so they upped it by 2 every 30 minutes until they hit 20 milligrams or milliliters or whatnot. Let's see. And then let's see. And then I was already having contractions, but they weren't doing anything to my cervix. It took a few hours for the Pitocin to really kick in, and then by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon is when my contractions really started to get really strong. Kind of had to really kind of breathe through them and focus and all of that. And after about an hour of the contractions being really, really strong, I felt this really big, it felt like Terra kind of kicked my cervix really, really hard. But it ended up being my water broke. It felt like a big kind of just boom inside of me. It was the strangest feeling. And the nurse was standing right next to me, and I just kind of went, I think my water just broke. And she's like, oh, really? So she went ahead and rolled me over on my back, or they asked me to lay on my back. I could still move at this time. And she took those little, I think it's a pH strip or whatnot, and they tested the fluid, and it was my water. So after that, I was they gave me, gosh darn it, I can't even think now. After my water broke, let's see, they had me get up and kind of just walk around for a second and see if I could get more water to come out, and then they asked me to get back in bed. And then let's see, after my water, let me see here, after my water broke around, that was around 5 o'clock, by the way. Let's see. Let's see. After my water broke, it was at that was at 5 o'clock, and then by 5:40 my contractions like got double as strong. They were really, really intense. It just seemed like it just kicked everything into gear. And they started me on, I didn't want to have my epidural because I wasn't really dilated at that time. I didn't want to slow my labor down or slow my dilation down. So I opt for some fentanyl, I think that's how you pronounce it, in my IV, and that really kind of helped relax me. Let's see. By 7:30, it says here, I'm reading my husband's phone, sorry. By 7:30, I was 3 centimeters dilated, so it really started picking everything up and got really going really quickly. Let's see. And then I just kind of labored, for a while. I think it was a couple hours. And then, let's see, by 10:30, I was 5 centimeters dilated and contracting like crazy. They were really intense to the point where I was just breathing through them. Nobody could, if they were asking me questions, I was not responding. I was just focusing on, my contraction and waiting till it got over, and then I would answer their question or whatever. So let's see. By 11:40, I was 6 centimeters dilated and still, same thing, laboring really, really hard. By 11:05, let's see, when did I got my epidural sometime in that time frame. My husband didn't put that in here. I think I got my epidural at about 9 o'clock or so. I think I was about 4 centimeters dilated then. Yeah, I got my epidural around that time, and it didn't hurt really. I was kind of nervous about the fact, having a needle stuck in my spine, but it didn't really hurt. It just felt like a lot of pressure, and I instantly felt it more on my left side than I did on my right. But he said that that's normal, and they put me laying on my right side to maybe help balance it out. And then it seemed like that really helped, and within a half an hour or so, I was feeling really, really numb, and I couldn't really lift my legs at all, and all was, dandy. I was feeling much, much better, and I was able to, conversate and everything like that. Let's see. Looks like he has on here 11:40. I was 6 centimeters dilated. 11:05. I was 8.5 to 9 centimeters dilated. And at 0 station, or 0, effacement, whatever. And then by 2 o'clock or 2:30, I was 10 centimeters, and the baby was engaged into Terra was engaged into my birth canal. So let's see. After that, he doesn't really have many notes, but I can kind of piece together what happened after that. Obviously, by the time I was 10 centimeters dilated, they wanted me to start pushing, and I pushed for about an hour and a half, and nothing was really happening. She kept coming down and then going back up, and then coming down and then going back up, and I started having really, really, really bad back labor. It's like my epidural just didn't take on my right side, just in my lower back right side. I couldn't feel my leg on my right side. I couldn't feel, like, I didn't have a whole bunch of pain in my vagina area or anything like that. It didn't feel like it was, all that bad, but it was all in my back. Felt like somebody was taking a knife and stabbing me repeatedly. I couldn't, I would push through the whole contraction, and then after I would relax, I just felt like I was going to pass out. The pain was so bad. And I had the button to, give myself more epidural if I needed it. So I kept hitting that as many times as I possibly could. I don't even remember how many times. But it was not taking the pain away at all. So after about an hour and a half, I felt sick. I couldn't, the pushing was becoming, way too intense for me. They would want me to push, for three times for 10 seconds. And by the third push, I felt like I was going to throw up all over myself. It was horrible. So they ended up letting me take a break, and they gave me some more fentanyl on top of the epidural to help relax me, because I was so I couldn't do it anymore. And the fentanyl, it did help. So they gave me, like I said, about a half an hour of rest, and then they came back in and wanted me to start pushing some more, because I kind of felt like I could. It eased the back labor just a smidge. And I go ahead and start pushing, and I'm pushing again for another hour, and nothing was happening. She was just coming down and coming back up. It's like she was stuck behind my pelvic bone, and she just would not come out. They said they could see hair and all of that stuff, so she was getting there, but it just wasn't progressing. And I could not take, once I started pushing for the second go around, I couldn't take it anymore. I was in tears. My husband was freaking out. I couldn't barely breathe. It was absolutely horrible. Back labor is probably the worst pain I think I've ever experienced in my life. I will never complain about back aches or anything like that on a daily basis, because what I experienced in labor and delivery was more than I think I will ever experience in my whole life. So we decided, or my husband decided, we have to do something. I can't see, her sitting here screaming in pain like this, and nothing is helping. So they get the anesthesiologist to come up and give me another, big dose of the epidural, not just a little tiny taps button that I had. She gave me a straight dose of the epidural, and that actually took the pain away enough to where I could talk. And I said, we need to do a C-section. I can't do this anymore. I'm in tears. I was bawling my eyes out in so much pain. And they said, you sure you want to do this? And I said, yes. We've been pushing for 3 hours or close to it, and nothing's happening. So they went ahead, and by this time, I think it was, I think it was like 6:30 or 7 in the morning on the 9th. And they went ahead and just got me ready for a C-section. They had to hook me up to an IV and push the IV fluid through me like super, super fast. That took about a half an hour. So by then it was about 7:20, 7:30-ish in the morning. And then they wheel me back for the C-section. And I get in the operating room, and I'm like, sort of comfortable, sort of not. They get me up onto onto the bed, or they transfer me over to the operating table, and he sits me up. The anesthesiologist was really nice. I do remember that. He, was taking pictures for us and everything, and he sat me up, got my spinal in, and I think that was probably the best thing in the whole world. I didn't like the fact that I was completely numb, but the fact that I was completely numb and I couldn't feel any pain anymore, I was able to breathe for a little bit, able to enjoy, the last moments of being pregnant, and the fact that she was going to be here within minutes. So let's see. After they got me in there around 7:30, it took about 15 minutes to get me, with the spinal and get me comfortable and set up and put the sheet up and all that stuff. And then they brought my husband in, and within I think about 3 minutes or so, she was born. I don't know. I can't exactly remember how long it took, but all I remember is, heard her cry, and she was born at 7:50 a.m. on the 9th. She came out with a full head of dark black hair, and actually at least that's what it looked like originally, because she was all kind of covered in the gooey stuff and the vernix and all that. But once they wiped her off, they noticed she has actually some blonde highlights, like she stopped at the salon on the way out or something, which is absolutely I love it. It's so cute. But she came out crying right away. The doctor said, it was able to let my husband see, her come out. He let him look over the curtain. because of his EMT background, they felt comfortable with he wasn't going to pass out or anything. So once they did that, they noticed that the cord, they got her out and the cord was wrapped around her neck. And then once they got the rest of her out, they noticed that there was actually a knot in her cord, which is extremely dangerous, and it's not seen very often. And they also told me that her head was positioned kind of cockeyed in my birth canal. So she was kind of like laying sideways a little bit. So that's why she wasn't descending into my birth canal. She was just basically stuck right there. And I couldn't imagine what would have happened if we would have just continued to push with the cord being wrapped around her neck and with the knot in her cord. She could have had, oxygen deprivation or whatever it's called, or where her oxygen supplies cut off. Her heart rate would have dropped. We could have ended up having to have an emergency C-section, and it would have just been a lot worse on me and a lot worse on her. So I just think that the way everything kind of happened, it was God's way of saying she cannot come out vaginally. I have another drink of my water, sorry. She cannot come out vaginally. She has to come out C-section, because otherwise, who knows what could have happened. It could have been really, really bad. So I'm definitely happy with the way things turned out. I wasn't anticipating on even being induced. I wasn't anticipating on any of this happening, especially to have a C-section. I wanted, to do this all naturally, but in the end, I'm just happy that my baby girl is happy and healthy, and she's absolutely perfect. And she was born, like I said in the beginning, at 7:50 a.m. She was weighing 8 pounds 8 ounces, and she was measured 21.5 inches long, and she was just perfect. I want to go ahead and do an update on her the first week of life, but I'll do that probably in the next couple of days. I just want to go ahead and get this up and get it, get everything kind of out there, so I don't have to, risk forgetting anything. Like I said, I'm sorry this is super kind of all over the place. I hope that I got all the information in here. I'm exhausted, to say the least, so I hope that it all makes sense for you guys. Anyways, yeah, that's about it. That's my labor and delivery story. Yeah, I hope you guys liked it, and I'm gonna go pick up my little girl now because I can actually hear her fussing. So I'll talk to you guys soon, and have a great day. Bye.